listening to. Some of you are already listening to us. Then again, you can check us out on Facebook, Boombedu on Facebook. That's BOOMGBEDU, Boombedu. We are on those places. Send us a message there, ask us questions, let us know what 2022 was like for you too. The highlights of your 2022 are the things that we are asking you. So, without further ado, we're just going to dive right into it. There's so much going on in the world today, and on the local and the foreign scene.
Yeah, I
so
think
many
that
things
maybe
has
we
happened.
should start
But-
from Pele and then we go back to.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Also. So again, we are right here at the bar, and right about this time yesterday, the news started filtering out, but it had not been confirmed yet. But last night, sometime in the 6 or 7 o'clock hour, for us, we heard a confirmed news that the legend Pele is no longer with us. It is actually a sad situation if you
Very sad.
have gone through your life knowing about Pele. Pele, the footballer, the legend, the singer, the actor, the everything. A lot of
Singer.
The wrestler.
yeah, actually, when I say singer, I should say musician. He actually wrote music, and
He
he
did.
scored songs for a movie.
He did.
That he
Oh,
was
wow.
involved in.
He
Oh,
did.
wow.
He did.
Yeah, that's Pele for you.
He did.
He also featured in a movie that was about him giving advice to an American footballer. So there's Pele the actor.
There was even a film they said he featured in what was about cult gang, gangsterism and all that. He featured in the early part of his career.
Yeah. So there's Pele the actor, there's Pele the songwriter and the musician, there's Pele the administrator. He was this minister of sport from 1995 to 1998 in Brazil. But let's go further back to the beginning where Pele grew up, and at the age of 7, Pele was already working. He was as a shoe shine boy.
Yes.
And he said all the money he made went towards the upkeep of the family. His father was a footballer, and of course he wasn't making so much money. He had to get a second job, and that's where Pele's exposure came. He joined his father. His father was working in a clinic. He joined his father also working in the same clinic with him, cleaning out bedpans and all of that. And he said that some of the monies he made from shoe shining, that he kept some because he wanted to watch movies. This is a 7-year-old boy, And at some point, the mayor of Barry, where they grew up in his city, actually created a youth tournament. And Pele joined the team, and someone who had 3 sons in the team said he was going to sponsor them with some used boots, because Pele said that when they started out, they would look for big socks and stuff it with clothing and all sorts of things, and that was the ball.
That was the ball.
There was no ball, there was no
That was
soccer
the
boots.
ball.
There was no ball, there was no soccer boot. So they would stuff it, and that's what they would play on the streets, and that's how they started playing football. So they now got into a team. The father, the man that had named the team La Americana, which is like Portuguese for Little Americans and all that. So they had a team. He sponsored the team and coached the team, and they won laurels and everything. And after a while, he left. And by this time, Pele was already 12 years old, and the club where his father used to play had now created a juvenile team. The internet.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So they have the juvenile team, and what happened was that the juvenile team now started playing, and Pele, the first game he played, when they played in the finals, he scored 4 goals. He scored 4 goals. Monies were thrown onto the pitch, coins, and it was said that monies were gathered, and his mother made him share it with his teammates. That look, you're not the only one that played and everything.
Wow.
And eventually, a top club in their city made
Picked
him
him up.
from Rio de Janeiro, actually made him an offer to join them. It was 14 then, and his mom said no, that she wasn't going to let him go. You know, because that meant he had to relocate to Rio de Janeiro. But Santos came when Pele was 15. And you can't say no to Santos. Santos is the biggest team in Brazil and everything. So he had to move to Santos.
Yeah.
But he was too small to play with the big boys at 15. So they put him in the juvenile team. He played a couple, and he was always scoring goals and everything. Then at 16, Pele made it to the national team.
At
16. At 17, Pele won the World Cup. His first World Cup, 1958.
58, yes.
You know?
Yes.
And that began the legend
At
of Pele.
17.
At 17, he won the World Cup. You know? Tokunbo wants to say something.
When I look back at Pele, you know, he was generational. What I
really?
meant, he was generational. What I meant by that was that at this age that some of us are now, right, we got to know or were influenced by his style and his fame when probably we were in the primary school. And that was what I said, what I meant when I said it was generational for a lot of us. And when I look back also, I put some fun into it. I think I shared it with Shola and the Dulupo area. Was that when I was in school, I remembered that Pele's fame actually brought some knocks into my class in particular. Because a boy came into school one day. It's funny, right? A boy came to school one day, and the first time we were going to see Pele himself in the national daily, Nigeria's national newspaper. That was the Daily Times. And he flunked it as if it was a big thing. We all left our classes rooms to join him and see and actually get a glimpse of the photograph of Pele in the Daily Times.
Wow.
And of course, we were not for leaving the class to another class. But I always look back and I said, Pele was everything. The only thing he wasn't for me was he wasn't the president of Brazil. He actually stood that. He represented Brazil, carried Brazil. His fame opened many doors for that country. In terms of appreciation, yeah, Brazil, coffee, chocolate, you can know them for everything they do. Brilliant, fantastic country. But Pele's influence,
it just made it.
he just threw Brazil out to the
So
field.
we will say that makes sense. You know, there was an announcement this morning by the Brazilian president that is a 3-day mourning for him.
Yeah. It's not the first time that Brazil had put Pele on that high pedestal. When he hit, you know, his 1,000 goal, they actually made a stamp, a national stamp of Pele's image and all of that. Then back to his journey from 58 to 62 when they won the World Cup again. And there was a break in 1966, which is the only World Cup that England has won till date. I was watching a couple of videos again this morning, and there was something that stood out. Today, footballers today, I'm not going to take anything away from them, but they are actually on, shall I say, on a bed of roses. They are playing football on a bed of roses.
Why did you say so?
In the 50s and 60s, footballers were tackled like rugby games. There was a particular game in 66 where, because then there were no substitutions.
Yeah, okay. Yes, there were none.
You know?
Oh.
Yeah.
So if you leave injured, there was not going to bring a player in and all of that. So there was a particular game that Pele had to just stay on the pitch just to make up the numbers. They had kicked him. I've seen videos this morning that made my skin curl. My blood boil. Like, is this football? This is not football. And it was in this same season and this same period that the man was banging in goals. You know, unofficially, Pele has 1,279 goals from 1,300 plus games.
Averagely one per game.
Yes, averaging a goal a game.
Yeah.
This was the same man, you know, that scored over 600 goals for Santos. The only two clubs he has ever played for, he played in America. He played professional football in America for 3 years. And it was the same thing. He was averaging a goal every other game. That one was every other game. He has scored 77 goals for Brazil. joint top scorer with Neymar. 77 from 92 official games. There are goals that Pele has scored in his career that are not captured.
They're not captured yet.
They're not captured. You get. He played for the military. 4 games, 4 goals. The Brazilian military team. 4 games, 4 goals. That's Pele for you. Do you understand this? This is the legend of Pele that we're talking about here. And as far back as the 60s, it was already endorsing brands and it was being paid even as a juvenile player. It was at some point Pele was earning over ₦1 million as a footballer in the 70s.
How do we describe that?
He came back, in 68, in 72, in 66, 1970. Sorry,
World Cup.
Then they won the World Cup again, because they missed out in 1966, then 1970, then they won the World Cup. Then, of course, they pulled out from the national team in 72. It was a packed stadium and all of that. When he made his debut in America, the games were showed globally. It was a thing then, Millions of people saw Pele's first game, playing for the Cosmos, the New York Cosmos. And as far back as that time, he was already influencing policies. He was getting involved in politics and supporting policies that would pay the common man. That was who Pele was. Yeah. And he had predicted, he said, that football in America was going to grow and that people should stop trying to convert people who support other sports. That it is the people who like football that will emerge. Eventually, it happened. It didn't happen in the 70s when he was playing. But that's what has happened now.
Over time.
At some point in time, I remember when he predicted that an African team would win the World Cup. And it was after Nigeria's exploits at the Junior World Cup and everything. Sadly, we have not lived up to his predictions on that one.
You mean Nigeria?
Yes, Nigeria.
Nigeria or Africa?
No, Nigeria is my concern.
It was such a global icon, Pele.
Super guy. And he had a sweet soul.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting. It's since we're on that matter, on the matter of very legendary people that had passed in 2022. Sorry, it's obvious that Pele did not want to stay like you. Just let me be going. Anyway, boy, he died at the ripe age of 82. I think that him being ill or not, 82 is not a bad age at all, especially for everything that he has accomplished in such a short time. It's amazing to
very
be
early in his lifetime.
Yeah, it's amazing to be alive when people like that.
I before you go away from Pele, it would be completely idiotic of me,
Pele,
if I do not talk about how Pele came to Lagos, Nigeria, with his team and played the great and super amazing, internationally acclaimed stationery stores.
Stationery stores.
Yeah.
Yes.
At the
Yes.
at the Oniko Stadium.
Okay.
The Oniko, the original.
And they didn't beat us.
They didn't beat us.
They did not beat us.
They didn't.
Pele could not beat stores.
Yeah, right.
Stores,
You know?
It was during the founders' years as well.
It was it was a huge game. Stadium was packed. The whole world was talking about it. Focus was on Lagos, Nigeria.
Yes.
All because of the fact that Pele came. He also went to Ghana.
He was in Ghana.
They were in Ghana too, and they played a game in Ghana, a game or two in Ghana too. That's how big Pele was. You see people naming their children Pele at that period.
He was
Abedi Pele of Ghana, of course, was named, or he named himself after.
Oh, really?
Pele. Yeah, Pele is
He
is the only
himself.
Pele.
He named himself.
Yeah. Abedi Pele was named for Pele.
Interesting.
While he was named for Thomas Edison. So Edison is actually from Edison. So Thomas Edison, the inventor, the creator, and all of that. That's what Pele got his name from, Edson Arantes de Nascimento. Another important thing that I wanted to highlight was how popular it was. There was a time when Maradona went on how graceful Pele was to watch. That is like watching a baby and a grown man at the same time, and the joy that he exudes and everything. And Ronald Reagan, on meeting Pele,
that was the one you told us about.
On meeting Pele, said to him, he said, "Pele, you are Pele. You don't need to introduce yourself. I know you. The whole world knows you.
Can you imagine?
And that's how big Pele was. Pele was an amazing guy. He traveled the world. He did what he could do. You know, you've never really heard any bad stories about Pele. You know, you've never really heard any bad thing. And to finally rub it in for the younger folk, none of your goats, the people you worship, come close to Pele.
Okay.
None. None of them.
This.
Name them. And you've seen what they've all written. They have all come out, every single one of them, to acknowledge that whatever they are doing today, you know, Pele was the catalyst for it. And anything that they are doing today, he had done it in the past. The bicycle kick. There's a player, I forget his name now, that talked about how in 1938 they had to invent dribbling because of the tackles that they were getting. I don't want to talk about the racism and everything that cropped up in that period, but that they had to come up with the idea of how to dribble around the player because they were being tackled roughly. You know, and these are the things that brought flair to the game that we're now used to, but that people like Pele actually made very big and very popular. I could go on and on.
He was born into it.
He was born to do this. I could go on and on about the legend that is Pele, but you know, I need to just weigh anchor here and say, you know, he didn't die. He has only just gone to rest, and it will be popular forever. These are the kind of people that their legend would has already outlived them.
Exactly.
He rewrote the game. He actually rewrote the game.
Interesting. You know, another very iconic person that we lost in 2022 is probably the longest serving monarch that a lot of people knew. And she is also a very iconic person. It was like she wasn't going anywhere ever anymore. It almost looked like she was just going to be there forever. And I'm guessing you know who I'm talking about now.
Charlie.
Mama Charlie herself.
No, Nigerians don't call her
Mama Charlie. Okay. Her Royal Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. That was someone that ruled for 70 years, 214 days as the Queen of England. She was the longest serving ever British monarch and the longest verified reign of any female monarch in history.
That's massive. Tokunbo, you should be talking. Been around for 100 years, and I'm sure you were there when she became queen.
Are you listening to him?
They are, actually.
I don't think so. Were you listening to him?
Yeah.
They are.
I'll tell you something. For the Queen, Her Majesty, it was... You know, a friend called me up and said, he lives in London, and said he still finds it difficult to believe.
That she's gone?
Yes, and that he doesn't believe. And I said, but it's all over the news in Nigeria. What are you talking about? He said, no, you don't understand.
It was just that she was just there. It was always the
and
queen.
He went on to explain. He said, for every day, there's something in the heart of the British, locked in somewhere there, that she is there. She's just there, you know. I believe that it was a big loss. In fact, despite the fact that she did wonderful things, she brought limelight to a lot of things going on in UK and the entire world. And I remember also that few people who are more into government knew that that they had lost something. Something had passed by. And I would never forget what I captured in my mind when she was about to be laid. The ceremony was awesome. The procession was awesome. People turned up. I don't know if the history books captured that event and probably scored it as one of the, most impressive exits given to someone of a status. I don't know if they did. If they haven't, maybe they should begin to think about it, because the monarchy was big, almost bigger than UK itself.
Yeah, the culture that they have, it's reflective in like everyday life. The currency that you spend has to reflect the monarch.
The monarchy.
The national anthem it reflects it is a long live the queen. You get, and people have been singing long live the queen for 70 plus years. And now they have to start learning how to sing
saying, like,
long live the king.
The king.
Fathers,
Because that's what I'm saying. Like,
Then
they had
the
just
currency
gotten
will be
used
changed.
to. It was something.
Yeah.
It was really iconic. Like, okay, the queen is actually dead.
And it was easy again because she was so big that when they say the queen, you don't say which queen.
You never do.
Yeah.
So that's a strong one. True. Thanks. And the power transcends the Commonwealth. That's. I found it difficult when I was younger to believe that the Commonwealth, Nigeria inclusive, was being governed by Her Majesty.
Yeah, Her Majesty the Queen.
Yeah, the Queen. And I would look back and I remember I would turn my head this way and I say, but where does she live?
Yeah.
And my siblings, elder ones, usually made fun of me in those days that I would say I wanted to go and see her.
But we should also mention.
So it's there forever. It's just.
We should also
forever.
mention how not everybody is enthused about anything that has to do with
the queen.
The queen and the royal family. Mm-hmm. There are people who feel that it's like good riddance. There are people who
there was a lot of drama that came up when
why are you celebrating a family that is taken and taken and taken? But they refer to the crown jewels and the crown itself being from India and other parts of the world, losing different artifacts to the royal family, and why even within England some people felt that look, they don't really care about but for me as a person, I feel that she was a human being
first,
and then you can start talking about other things, but first and foremost she was a human being, and she actually exuded some kind of aura,
grace,
and regardless of all the other things, because there's no perfect human being, there's none,
none.
I think she made the monarchy really strong with the way she handled things. I think she brought some stability to them, and the longevity she had.
I think that definitely brought a lot of stability to it. Yeah. So 2022, we saw the death and the royal burial. Yeah, which it's safe to say people had not seen for 70 years.
I like that.
It had never happened. It had not happened in 70 years. So it was it's beautiful. When you hear the London has fallen, the London Bridge has fallen, all those things that for people that read those things, you literally see them in action. So we definitely 2022 gave us that. I think we should come back to Nigeria and come back to a very iconic king. Very iconic as well. That by the time you hear him, there was always just someone that also we can say that we heard so much about. Like, it was like the queen, like he has always been alive all my life.
Always around there.
And more like he had always been old. I don't know if you get it. Like, when someone is talking about, if you say someone like Morgan Freeman, all my life Morgan Freeman has always looked like a grandfather. Like, he has always been old. But that's why at times you wonder, like, when you now hear that did this person actually die? Because you're always like that, they're always there. That person I'm talking about,
Have they ever died?
is Alafinofoyo. That person, that he was someone that also was there for so long. He was also the longest reigning Alafin of all time. He died at the age of 83, and he was on the throne for almost 52 years.
That's massive. Like Dolupo said, 52 years. At that point in time, Tokunbo must have been 50 when the Alafinofoyo.
Okay, what did he do to you today?
No, I have not. No, but just
You have a problem with me stating facts?
No. It was my own.
Let him dispute it now. Shebi is here. He's not that
he said
old.
Tokunbo. There are many.
Ojekunle. So, Tokunboojekunle would be in a better position to talk about his. The only experience I had was that it was at my brother's wedding, and they refused me to pass when I wanted to go and meet my brother to tell him. They said I can't pass in front. I should go like this. I'm like, in our party.
Yeah, our own party. Wow.
No problem.
I get it. You know, it's very interesting, like you had said. The way we're talking about the queen, now you remember the queen. Even as much as now, there's still no Alafin of Oyo yet. When you hear Alafin of Oyo, it was only his image that came up.
Yeah.
It was the only Alafin of Oyo everybody knew.
Right.
Like that was the only image that came up. Even up on there are a lot of other
He was
kings.
the only one all the governments knew.
Yeah.
Back to back, they knew.
And back to back. That's what I'm saying. So it was always his image. So I think that, like, we had said it earlier, like the queen, and the next Alafin is going to have huge shoes to fill.
There's something I think we missed out. I missed it out to say. And that's the fact that when you have a monarch that has reigned so long, the picture is it conjures fear. The respect becomes fearing the kingdom, fearing the person, fearing the seat that is being occupied. And I can tell you that with all reverence, his name would always be pronounced on radio in his heydays with respect. You couldn't have a broadcaster who cannot go down the lane to understand that when it comes to the Alafin, there's some respect around it. Even for public occasions, they would always give him that reverence. That reverence is always unique. And in fact, their presence dwarfed governors of the states. They dwarfed them.
Okay, carry on, talk about.
Now, I'll be landing. They dwarfed them in such a way that anytime
you just can't
overlook
overlook
coming from the palace. Has to be respected.
Oh yeah, you can't overlook those people.
And they kept the tradition, they kept the culture of the people.
The Alafin of Oyo we are talking about is the 45th. I think Dolupo mentioned that, right?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay, so it's the 45th Alafin. Of course, you said he spent 50 plus years. And Oba Lamidi Adeyemi III. We didn't really stamp his name, Oba Lamidi Adeyemi III.
Sorry, it was just that he's just the only Alafin.
It's just that once you say Alafin, you can picture.
You can picture his face,
And one of the talking points for a lot of people, but for me, major talking point is for me. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm going to say my own first, and I'll talk about the people.
It's a serious joke. Sorry, serious matter.
Okay. You people are watching them.
I said,
so
right.
It's the fact that he was a sportsman, and he liked, the gentleman's game, boxing.
But
he was a boxer. He was a boxer.
Yes.
Yeah, he was. I remember a few years ago seeing a video where he was actually training. Yeah. This was just
my friend, my good friend Larry Ekundaya, who is a former Commonwealth champion and African champion. I'd even gone into the ring with him. He had gone to present his belt, and he was an amazing sports enthusiast. He loved his sports a lot. That was a big deal for me. And again, so the thing that people used to talk about was how he had this large, can we call it a harem? I don't know. But he had a large number of women married to him as wives They all looked alike. The man had specs. Like,
it was obvious that the man had a spec.
Yellow.
Yellow.
My friend Benga would say yellow.
Very yellow.
Pretty women and
pretty,
all of that. The alafinofoyo was.
He wasn't really bad looking too.
Was a fine boy. No pimples.
He had that coming.
And he liked his women. And
that is very interesting. Like for Oyo State in particular, I think that it was a spate of very prominent kings. It started from late December of 2021, where the Shomo of Umosho, who's also a very prominent king,
very, very prominent,
who also died. I think it was about almost 50 years on the throne, right. Who also passed as well. Then the Olubadan of Ibadan, who weirdly, I won't say weirdly, he died at the age of 93, but he didn't stay for so long. Like, and you know that Olubadans, they're always very old anyway. By the time they become Olubadans,
largely due to this, amazing system succession plan.
They give it to them
that have been put in place. 2 ruling houses, with their own chart, and people would rise.
Nobody's fighting anybody.
People, you know the next.
You just know.
You know.
I was reading somewhere. The next 40 Olubadans are already in line.
The families are.
There's not the family. The people. The exact people. So there's no story. There's no fights. There's no. Do you understand?
There's no back and forth.
Even though there was a little bit of back and forth with this, the death of this particular Olubado, but they still had to just revert to status quo. Like it was just what it was. Also, there was the Ashayin of Isayin also that passed to. So there were a lot of prominent kings that passed. But since we're talking in this, even though I did not want to start with this, but here we are. In the story of the people that actually passed in 2022. April 8th. It was interesting that this particular person was not as popular before she died. And we see it happen a lot. And this was the person of Osinachi Nwachukwu. Her song, I'm sure a lot of people knew that song. A lot of people didn't even know who sang the song until she passed. And the sadder part with her passing was, first things first, she died at the young age of 42. There's still a lot of back and forth around her death. Last I heard, I think her husband is remanded in prison because of this matter. There's a bit of domestic violence allegations and all that back and forth with her. So which I felt that it was a very, very sad. It was a very, very sad thing occurrence in 2020. It really did get a lot of people talking. Someone that died at the age of 79 that got a lot of people talking. Also, on April 14th was Orlando Julius.
OJ was, one of the icons of Nigerian music. OJ was someone that we grew up listening to. One of the things that stood out for me about OJ was him and his wife in the same band.
Latoya.
And Latoya was American. She was African American, and she was more Nigerian than some Nigerian people. And she indeed loved our husband and the arts and the music, and there was always the controversy of who started Afrobeat or who didn't start Afrobeat. It's a discussion that would never end. I know that the coaches don't like hearing this. They don't want to look. Every fella did this and all of that, But a lot of supporters of Orlando Julius would also tell you that, oh no, it was OJ that did, this, brought the ons and stuff. But whoever did, no matter what it is,
of having a chat
with him
on a radio show once, and when he got to that question, he looked. There's something about his smile. Just grips me. When he got to that question, he beamed that smile and looked at me and said, Tokunbo, what do you think? I will never forget. He said, what do you think?
He threw it back at you.
Threw it back. and he says, go back to the things I've done and the songs I have played before, and you will see the culture. Something is different. And that was the same thing the Americans took away from him. Because funk has its roots.
Yeah.
Funk also has its generational presence.
Of course, now.
So when you now come 5 years after that punk had started, you now sing a song and you say it's punk, they will tell you that's not the original punk.
Yeah.
Because there's something wrong about the bass line or something is wrong about. So he took us back to letting us understand what music really is. He said, listen to the bata, listen to the conga, listen to the drum itself, the yalo, okay? And you begin to feel what Afrobeat really is. OJ was a big structure. OJ was a big structure. If only we had known, a lot of people would have enjoyed probably going to his lecture rooms to sit down and study and understudy him and all that. But I still tell you, Shola, you are right. Till today, a lot of people still wonder where exactly it started from, okay? Latoya would also tell you, you said something about love. Let me explain this. I have never seen a musician so loved. I look back and I mean it. I'm talking about musicians from the old generation who had their wives next to them. Very few would look at that. The closest I will remember was Julius Araba many years ago, and she very many years ago, probably in the 50s and 60s, who also had a kind of strong relationship, bonding with the wife. And what that does is that they usually end up singing with them. The band.
Sorry, just to this is like an aside. You know that I've been on your side since.
Whose side?
You.
Why?
That he has been saying that you will know everybody.
You need it to complement the show.
Wait.
No, don't go there. Don't look where you're going.
Wait. Let me just finish.
Shola, listen.
You didn't even let me finish.
I won't allow you.
Leave me out of this.
Leave
me out of this. You
Let
people should
me
continue.
finish. Okay. So he has been saying it a lot that you see you were around where this person, so you know a lot.
I will tell you, no.
And then you know that I just got lost. Like, okay.
No.
I thought it was a one or two sentence.
No. But I didn't say much.
Wow.
It tells you how passionate I flew with Orlando. It's a good story.
Is it about the being passionate or but you know a lot?
No, I don't know a lot. Shola knows a lot.
You saw a lot.
No, I didn't say much, but I remember we trained a lot with them. Yeah.
Okay. That just did not tell me.
It's the season.
Oh God!
I'll let it go because it's the season.
Anyway, sadly, there were a few people that we lost that were also not very, very good occurrences. For example, on July 17th, the news broke that Ada Ame, an actor, that she actually died. It was a very sad one. Actually, also there was on October 13th, more recently, Rico Suave, who's a former Big Brother Niger housemate, who died in an accident. It was very young, very young, promising Nigerian. It was a very sad one. Also, most recently, a few weeks ago, Samuel Poso, who at the age of 51 passed on. And you know, there are some people that you honestly like, okay, is it actually true? Chike, like it's a very, it's really sad when you hear some of these things, and a few other people that had passed.
Ame's case. If you watch the Johnsons.
Then you know, I don't know how they're going to replace that.
Up until now, they still find it difficult.
I don't know how they're going to replace her character.
To outthrow her.
Yeah.
Likewise, the other chap, he features on Tinsel. and the same story. These vacuums, I don't. We lost a lot. We lost them. We lost,
Oh, yeah.
and it's so sad. So sad.
You know, I think I've not been watching Big Brother for a couple of years now, but I think the one that Rico Suave was at, I still
did
caught a
watch.
bit of it. You know, and one of the things I liked about him was his persona.
He was a
He was just this
easy-go-lucky,
happy guy. There's one
Didn't have a-
Timaya song that it would just something like I
He
know
breaks-
something
he
about I
breaks
don't want
into
trouble.
it.
Want
He breaks
he
into
was
it.
always doing
He
that
was
all the time.
Like you hardly
like,
ever heard that he was in a fight or he was, yes.
You know,
I
I
agree
I
with
was
you.
expecting him to like blow. Like I was waiting for that news where you hear about how Rico Suave, because
Like-
he was also going to go into music.
Yeah,
and
he
all of
sang.
that.
He sang. He did
You know?
sing. It's a very very sad one, but you know, it is what it
The
is.
passages. were sad.
You know, before we go on to other things, since we're talking about entertainment, I wanted to go on to two things I want to talk about a bit with entertainment: songs and people that, especially Nigerians, that literally blew in 2022, and also albums that really you know, like, okay, made 2022 in the music scene, made it big. And I think I'm going to start from songs or people that we saw do big things in 2022. One name that resonates a lot with me is Pheelz. And Pheelz that is here is Pheelz, Mr. Producer. And you know, he started a bit of music, I think, from 2021, but then he came in 2022 and he decided to turn things up. I think what really made him big was what's the name of this song? Finesse. It was, you know,
If
that
I broke
song.
now my business, now my child, you go carry go. You're lucky for the night, oh. So
If I give you that version of that song, that's
No,
Please sing
do
your-
not.
sing your
No,
own
do
version.
not. No. We have seen
Cheers overruled.
the
What?
damage that you have done to the ones that you have done before. Thank you very much. We are fine.
It's alright.
please do not be discouraged. Can we hear your own version of Finesse?
She's my director today.
Thank you.
She's
Wow.
directing.
I will stick to it.
Suddenly.
She's directing today.
Suddenly.
What?
Dolupo is your director today.
You see?
Anyways, yes,
Why did we stop?
bringing up Pheelz, Mr. Producer, aka Ridimakula yo,
Rhythm and cool and young.
Bundle of talent.
is Ridimakula yo.
Rhythm and cool and young.
He
Let's do that.
produced amazing music for
Oh, yeah, he
a
did.
lot of artists, and
Yeah.
you look at it and you're like, who's done this? It's Pheelz,
It's Pheelz.
but nobody knew. So there was a song that he featured in that had Vector and MI.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that was the really first time that it was Crown of Clay.
Yeah.
Crown of Clay.
He had been doing one or two before that, but Crown of Clay was massive. Like you're like, wait.
And to me, he actually made that song. Yes.
Yeah, you
Yes. I remember that.
Then he went and made his own, and it was massive. And he had already made the song. Then he played it for Buju, now known as Benson. And Buju was like, lovely song. Then jumped on it, and that was history. Do you know how you know a big song? Is when everybody wants to jump on it. East African version was made just like that. He didn't even know about it, but he still endorsed it because it's creativity.
It's creativity.
It's brotherhood.
And then
that's
before we finished,
that's how you know.
we saw the
remix.
one with the remix that I had with French Montana. Beautiful, beautiful guy. I think that
so talented.
he definitely had a very fantastic 2022. That you cannot say. He also performed. Was it? I can't remember where exactly. Was he at the World Cup? No, was he at the World Cup?
It was. I think it was at it was at the Grammys or
Yes, it was. Yeah, some
he
fan
performed outside.
Outside, yeah. I think that Pheelz had a
And
fantastic.
while you were still
2022.
basking in that, he did a song with Davido, Electricity.
Yeah.
And that song is doing some amazing numbers also. So shout out to Pheelz. These are the amazing.
Yes, and
year.
it definitely had an amazing
Great
year.
1 year.
Another person that had, I think, a very, very fantastic year that all catapulted him all the way to the World Cup was Kizzdaniel.
Kizzdaniel.
I think that
Oh.
the song Buga is probably, if not the song of the year.
It's a top contender for Song of the Year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be maybe top 3, regardless of how you look at it. He had a topsy-turvy year, but more of topsy than turvy. The turvy was when he missed the show.
Oh yeah,
And it wasn't nice, but he bounced back from that.
It did.
And he also did more things.
things.
Then while Buga was still flexing on all the charts and doing big things, you see the president of Liberia
Yeah.
at rallies. I saw him at 2 different rallies, and he's going low, Bugao, Then there was a procession of some Nigerian women. I think it was in Canada.
Yeah, it was.
And
you see
that was the song. These women were probably in their 50s and 60s and late 40s. And their procession at that point in time, that was the song they were singing. Then there was a video of nuns. I do not mean it in a derogatory way. Some sisters from the church who were at an event with a reverend father in tow, and they actually were dancing to Buga. So it showed you that he had massive
he did that song.
appeal.
I think
That
Massive
song.
crossover appeal.
I think what he's done is
You
just
know?
the crossover.
Yeah.
And the crossover made it so international. It wasn't being looked as a Nigerian song, really. Do you get it? Everywhere. And we also had our vice president endorse it.
Oh
partially.
yes, he did.
If not officially, he talked about it. And songs like that they flashes in the pan. They just come with a flash, bang. Not that he's gone out of bringing out new songs, but I'm saying that there are some songs when you drop them, they just spread out, and that's what
talking
he's
about
done.
bringing out new songs,
Yeah.
he didn't even rest on his oars. The next thing was Cough.
And it's
that's
big,
a collaboration
massive too.
with Empire, and the part that people know is the Odoyewu.
And he came with his own dance as well. And I think that Kizzdaniel, take it or leave it, had a fantastic 2022.
He's got the audience.
Oh
He's got
yeah,
the
he
audience.
definitely
He's got the audience.
did have a fantastic 2022.
he's got the audience.
Another person that's very undeniable.
Any awards for these people? Okay, go ahead on this.
Any undeniable.
This is the Boom Radio NG Awards now.
I wanted us to.
I am glad that you are stamping it.
Be bold about it.
the one that we know that it was definitely his year was Asake.
Organized.
Asake came and
Every
blew
other
everybody
person
away.
otherwise.
Everybody.
Some of
He
us
blew
are wise.
everybody off the charts.
Every
Like,
other person.
it
organized.
was definitely Ashake's year.
This is a good year. This is a good year.
It was, when you think about it.
a good year.
We literally heard of
Really
Ashake
good year.
this year. He brought out his album this year.
Yep.
His album did massive
Last
this
year for some of us that have been played.
He was signed in YBNL this
Okay.
year.
Trabaye, have you forgotten it was last year featuring Burna and all the others?
Was it last year?
Yeah. Asake was already dropping songs last year.
Anyway, he was signed to YBNL this year. He really became very big this year, and he just went off the charts. There is no how you want to call the music scene in Nigeria, and Asake would not be. Like he said, top 3.
For me, maybe because when we play music on Boom Radio, we play based on good music. And one of the things that I liked was Asake himself would come to our Twitter handle and retweet and like.
Yeah, you told me about
You know,
that.
it showed me a part of him that, like, and that was last year up until early this year and everything. And you see how much it has grown. It has grown to the point where some songs that he didn't release them, but they had performed, were given to artists to perform, and it became hits. You know, he had grown to the point where established artists are asking him to make songs with them.
Yeah.
And the songs are gonna be a hit. That's what it is. He's signed to a record label that does not stifle talent. What YBNL does is allow you do stuff. And again, the owner of the label is a workaholic. You know, there was a time for like 5 or 6 years. Every year he was dropping an album.
Yeah.
So when you get on that kind of label, and there's something I want to point out. I was going to do like a proper opinion piece on this and put it on YouTube and social media. We have benefited a lot in the music industry from COVID-19 and the lockdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might sound stupid to you, but don't bury me yet. Before COVID-19, a lot of artists were only dropping 1 minute and 2 minute and 3 minute songs. And that was it. They were all about the single. They didn't care. They just wanted the numbers so that they could say, I dropped a song and it had 1 million views.
Keep with the trend.
You know?
Yeah.
They were not about the albums. But with the lockdown, everybody was forced
to go to.
Everybody was forced to create
more.
And so they were doing the albums. And what most of them didn't realize before COVID was that you had to have a cachet of music. You had to have a library, you know, a massive file that you can perform. Maybe a 30-minute set, a 1 hour set, or a 5 hour set. So you think because of one single that you have,
you will stay relevant.
You know, when you perform that one song and you now do 3 or 4 other songs, people are going to be staring at you like, who is this? So that has helped show the hard work pays, and it helped the Nigerian music industry. So they all went back and they were dropping EPs and albums, which also helps them now when they go on shows on the road. They can perform their repertoire of songs, and that has really, shown in the way Fireboy, in space of 3 years.
He's the person I was going to talk about next. Beautiful. Beautiful. He also had a very
EP after
he also had
EP.
a very interesting year. I think it was this year he dropped his album as well. He's also a very fantastic singer that we saw do amazing work this year. Another person is Rema. We saw Rema do fantastic work. We saw the Mavins. And talking about all these people, maybe we should just dive right into the albums that we heard this year.
Yeah.
That really made a lot of...
Raves and Roses. That's like Rema's album. He's doing some crazy numbers.
Almost like Guns N' Roses.
Exactly. Talking about...
over 300 million views of one particular song.
Oh, yeah. Fireboy's album, Playboy 2, was fantastic. Such a fantastic album. One album that we... please go ahead.
No, I was going to say that, the fact is this. I'm so happy. I do not think that in the history of music come together. In Nigeria,
music has been this big.
It's been this big. Thank you. 2022 has been so loud. They utilized the strength.
Oh yeah, they did.
And the year was favorable to them too. It was
I agree with you. Another person that did not let us down, Burnaboy. Of course, there was a lot with Burnaboy. It was not just his album. It was him shutting down shows. Places, there was the
massive arenas.
There was the Madison Square Garden.
In the Netherlands, in France.
It was Burna Boy. Other than the fact that there was the Grammy that we all know about Burna Boy, he did a lot. He definitely did. Broke a lot of he did a lot of first. Also Wizkid. We saw his long-awaited More Love, Less Ego. Also with Wizkid, it was just not about the album, it's about the things that they did, the shows that they shut down. It would have they would release tickets online, and within minutes
They're sold out.
they're sold out. And you know, it was like you said, Nigerian music did amazing. Also, another album that we saw the emergence of some artists in 2022 was the Mavins, the young Mavins. I think that this was also the year we saw the major emergence of Ira Star in a
No, Ira is more of last year's.
no, I'm not saying she's not 20, but we saw a lot of her.
We're stepping out.
Yes, stepping up in 2022. There were a lot of people from Bayani to Boy Spice to
Magix.
Magix. There was a lot of, and they gave us an album. So I think that they definitely. Omahlay also gave us an album this year.
Omahlay is one of the best things that's ever happened to music in Nigeria. Omahlay, you guys have not even seen anything yet. He has a song with Justin Bieber, massive song.
Yeah.
Then there's a song with Zino Liski, but go listen to his album. Just that album all by itself. You know, you see a guy who has not even shown you the tip of the iceberg. You know, and I'm looking forward to 2023 for Omahlay
For
and
him,
subsequent years, because this guy and his album is beautiful.
And another person that I think that had a very fantastic album this year was Chike. Chike came out and gave us Brother's Keeper.
Listen to the entire album.
It was
not a single song.
Yeah.
Not a single song that you do not want to get into. He had a few collaborations that you know, One Kelma, you know, it's a beautiful song. The other collaborations and everything. This album stamped Chike as a top artist.
Yeah, you did.
In 2023.
I 2022.
Probably a strong contender for next year.
2022, sorry.
Yeah. Also, one person that we saw do a lot of things and actually did it well, blaqbonez.
blaqbonez.
We saw the musician, we saw the music director, we saw the video director, we saw a lot of people.
blaqbonez is an artist that needs to be studied. He understands the game and he plays the game. He organized a show, I think it was late last year or early this year, and you know, he hit the streets, literally went on the street like a preacher, and he was telling them, attend my show. He was you know, he brings a lot of comedy into the craft to push his agenda. He doesn't care. You pop one at him. The bottom line is that he's selling his songs, he's selling his album,
he
he's
gave us
putting shows.
a video, the music video, and the whole drama around the video. How he wanted to pay somebody.
So when one of the biggest things is that when you talk about Asake this year, you must talk about his movie, his official movie. I say movie. It's more of his music director, the music
that
video
was
director.
One person that also became really huge.
That guy,
TG
Omori is the best in Africa as we speak. He makes his music videos like movies. You know, like the video with Bandana, Asake,
with,
and
Fireboy.
Asake and Fireboy. They more or less built a church, you know, they made a car fly, you know, and they did all of that, you know. And that's how much TG Omori goes into his videos. So I'm linking it to blaqbonez, the artist. And blaqbonez goes like, oh, when people find out how much TG was charging per flick, you know, they'll be like, hey, it's expensive, yeah?
How much?
Millions of
naira.
Don't
put it like that.
Some people shoot movies with that budget.
Yeah.
Whole movie.
They shoot entire movies with a budget for a 3 or 4 minute song.
Yeah.
You know, but TG Omori doesn't care because it's about creativity. So blaqbonez goes, if he's,
I don't want it.
So he actually made a video about it, and he actually shot his video by
himself, and it was huge. I think also the curiosity around it made a lot of people like, And it was not a bad video at all. In fact, I felt it was creative because if you go back to watch that video, there were a few things that he said in the song that if you don't really watch, they were like very subliminal.
So you
things.
also took excerpts from other people's videos and
you know,
recreated it.
Yeah, it was.
So that's part of the comedy thing that I was talking about.
That definitely blaqbonez definitely gave us that this year. Also, another person that we saw do music by himself, drop an album as a collaboration, and also as an actor this year, and also as someone that on Twitter was not going to have it after he declared who he was going to vote for, is the person of brymo.
Yeah, brymo not only gave us good music, he gave us one of the biggest catchphrases and brandings ever. He referred to Bola Tinubu as City Boy.
And even the Bola Tinubu himself is using it.
So everybody now calls him
City Boy, and he came from brymo.
This came from brymo.
CB.
Oh yeah, it definitely came from brymo. We saw him release Theta, his own album, fantastic album. We saw him release Ethos that he did with AQ,
a joint album.
Beautiful album. We saw him actually act as well.
Olonwiyo
in what's the name of this movie? Elesinoba. We saw that happen. Yeah.
Okay.
We saw him do that. So we saw different angles to brymo this year, and I think that brymo definitely had a beautiful year that you cannot take away from me. Also, MI finally gave us The Guy.
Yeah.
This year, Benson, formerly known as Buju, gave us Bad Since '97, and a lot.
There's too many of them. There's Ruga with all his singles.
We saw a lot of Ruga this year. Yes,
there's a lot of that.
We definitely saw a lot of Ruga this year. Before we leave the old entertainment story, I wanted us to talk a bit of movies. Nigerian movies that we saw this year. We probably might not talk about a lot, but I wanted to talk about 3 movies that we don't know yet, but look like they were nominated. They were in run to be nominated. They were supposed to be nominated for the Oscars. And these 3 movies, one thing that was very common with them was the fact that they were all epic movies. There was the Ageshikole King of Thieves, there was the Anikulapo, and there was Elesinoba. 3 different productions. But it to me, Nigerian movie system, the way the music also came was, it also blew up. I think 2022 really was actually a year for the Nigerian movie scene, entertainment scene. But it also showed us with movies that a lot of people were now going back to the roots. I watched an interview, I can't remember who exactly, I'm not sure if it was Tunde Kelani or someone, that was saying that he was really proud of what the Nigerian directors are doing now, that there are too many of our indigenous stories that cannot be exhausted. There are too many stories from different angles, so we don't even need to create some out of the world story. Our culture is enough for us to create a lot of, and it's very interesting. That's why I said that watching those kind of movies, especially watching those things in the cinema, was a few years ago.
Wow.
Where they probably never.
Yeah, they were not. Well, they were just there.
They were just there. You probably not go and do those things. But now, for it, the fact that it was even being considered, and they were proper indigenous movies.
The template.
I think that the Nigerian movie system, scene also did beautiful this year as well.
Nice one.
Yeah, that we would not. So, before we move on to other things, we're going to talk about a bit of politics, things that happened in politics this year. Also, we'll talk about the federal government policies, the things that happened this year, and a few states here and there. But before that, I just wanted to put something, as the news had dropped, that remember the Bolanle Rahim story. It looks like that story is not going anywhere
Of
anytime
course not.
soon. But it is said as of now that right now the Lagos State Court has now remanded the police officer. Yes, he has now been remanded in jail. He has also, the police commission has also approved his suspension.
So suspension, right?
He has also approved the suspension that was recommended by the Inspector General of Police as well. So it looks like that is going.
Yeah, one of the things that we need to do as journalists is to educate and also enlighten people. People feel aggrieved at the decision of the Inspector General of Police to suspend or recommend his suspension. People want him to be outrightly sacked and dealt with and taken to court. But the law does not empower the IG to sack a policeman. The Police Service Commission is the only body that can do that. So what they can do is to recommend his suspension, which is what they have done. Now that they have recommended his suspension, now he can have his day in court.
In court, yeah.
And these are the things that Nigerians should please be aware of.
Well,
we are all aggrieved. We all feel a part of Bolanle Rahim. We can imagine what the family is going through. The mother was talking about how she had to
do all sorts of things,
to do everything to see her child through school. And at 40 or 41 years old, you know, just when her life had taken a turn for the better, it got cut short by this trigger-happy, shameful human being that thinks that he can take a life and keep his own. I don't know what the Nigerian law says, but I'm not going to talk about that beyond the fact that I just want to create awareness about why they have to go this route, so that some smart lawyer somewhere will not come back and say it was not handled the right way, and based on a technicality, they will let him go. So for this reason, even if we're angry and we feel aggrieved, let us know what the law says and states, and this is what's going to happen. But this is one case that will not be swept under.
That definitely cannot be swept under the carpet.
I don't want us to lose it, but I recall the Sunday Udo case. You remember Sunday Udo?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, quickly before, so basically, now it is official. It is the Attorney General of Lagos State that appeared in court today, and there's just one count charge against him, and it's murder.
Yeah, straight to the point.
So it's the Lagos State government that he's suing him and the Nigerian police.
Yeah,
straight to the point.
That's the big.
So moving on from that, and let's move on to things that happened in Nigeria this year. Starting from, I know that you and SR had a lot to talk about before we came on the show. And before, I think that there was the most recently. Maybe we should start from that, or we should go all the way back. The
drive as you want, so that's good, no problem.
Okay, so before we get there, I have a list of a few things that happened this year. A little bit sad though. Oh, let me say tragedies that happened this year. Let me just run through it because I know that is going to take quite a while. 10th of February, remember that there was an armed robbery case where the armed robbers had raided a bullion van in Ibadan that killed 6 people, including 2 policemen. That was one news that shook
very sad actually
everybody. Also, 28th of March was where the Abuja Kaduna train attack.
Another very sad incident.
Very sad incident. April 22nd, where Imo River's explosion. Remember the illegal refinery where about over 100 people had died.
Yeah.
That also happened in 2022. 12th of May was the sad incident where Deborah Yakubu was lynched in school.
An incident that, we don't have justice yet. An incident where, people are playing politics with. An incident where if we don't get justice, we're not sure that it won't happen again.
Very, very sad one on that.
And we are yet together.
Yeah. 5th of June, we woke up to the sad story of the Owo church attack.
Yes.
Yes. 5th of September, there was the collapse that happened in Lagos State where 6 people had died. 12th of September was where Senator Ifeanyi Uba's convoy was attacked.
Very sad one. That one.
Now, about 5 people had died.
Innocent people
Innocent
died.
people.
Remember, people on his convoy. And to date, we haven't heard anything
about most of these things. 5th of October was kind of a good news where the Nigerian military had finally secured the release of the last passengers of the Abuja-Kaduna attack that had been taken all the way from March.
This was instrumental to the restoration of the train service from Abuja to Kaduna.
Yeah. And in October, one major thing that happened in October was the flooding. It happened 8th of October, about 76 people had died, where there was a boat that was actually carrying people in Anambra State, and the boat capsized. Also, at around 17th of October, the president announced that about over 600 people had died from flooding around the country. It's obvious this year's flood was unprecedented.
Yeah.
It was.
There's still the gray area of what to do. The president had given one of his ministers the marching order to ensure that this does not happen anymore. We've not heard anything since that period, since October. And when you're into governance, you must bring people up to speed. You must instill confidence in the people. So if Mr. President is saying that he wants to nip the issue of flooding in the bud, we know that there are several things responsible. There's global warming, but there are creative ways to handle this too.
Things like that.
There is a dam in Cameroon that is constantly under threat once the flood gets to a peak.
Yeah.
We are supposed to redam that path.
Yeah.
I don't think anything has been done there. We can create artificial lakes, create channels for water to flow, or even recycle it, and which also helps us with generating power and help with irrigation. We have to go all out and be creative and save the common Nigerian. They don't have a hope.
Yeah.
On the flip side, try not to build in a flood pathway or in a flood plain. Avoid the river banks, avoid the path of the flood. There is a pattern. A lot of people are building or constructing and setting up in places where they shouldn't, marshlands and places where they shouldn't. We gonna say that. Then must give kudos to the agency in charge of monitoring the flooding and the NIMET, or what's their name, and the other agency. They actually did give heads up and asked people, look, if you're in this area,
here we are,
head out and everything. So we will hand government their own blame and encourage them to come up with a more creative way of solving our issues around flooding. But bear in mind, without sounding like a prophet of doom, it's going to happen again. How prepared will we be? Are we always going to dwell on palliatives?
Okay, and moving on from that, so I think that we should talk about a few policies that happened. The one that I can remember at the top of my head is the central bank and new money. We got new money in 2022.
New money, it don't come. I buy Gary for 10 cup. I give Mary to cook up. Mary cook up, say, baby, she knows that. I push, baby, you know that.
I don't know.
I mean, a
1948.
lady girl. Wagarogo, super. Obele sound. Obele sound.
Okay, but how did you know it was the 1948 release?
Because it was their generation that released it.
Old people.
And they passed it to us.
Okay.
You will know. You can't argue with 1948. It was specific. He didn't even say 40s. He said
40s, yeah, he was very specific with that.
And if you look at...
We're set to push the date further again. The date.
No, we're not.
No, we're
actually.
not.
It's
So
just a
it's
suggestion.
just the Senate suggesting it to them.
Okay.
But at least that's one iconic thing that happened in 2022.
Yeah, so I've been one of the advocates for this new money change
money.
because, again, constitutionally and by law, it should have been done a couple of years ago. They're not supposed to go this long with the same currency because, you know, the people who are into forgery, they get comfortable with this. However, to be honest, I still haven't cited that money. I have not touched it. I have not spent it.
I have.
Oh, I haven't.
The pages,
And-
pages of
Weirdly-
newspaper.
Oh God.
Okay,
Oh,
so
God.
none of us.
None of
A
us.
poll here has been conducted. I have used the ATM after the announcement and after the deadline.
I read that.
I've used the ATM at least 4 times after that time, and it's the old notes that are still being loaded.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I've actually
The
used
old
the
notes are still
ATM.
below in the
It's the
ATM.
old
Oh yeah,
notes.
I heard that.
It's
Yes,
the old
there's
notes.
still
So
old notes
the
that are still given.
CBN has a lot of work to do because
So
Where-
because
where-
in my
where's the
mind,
sense?
you shouldn't load old notes anymore.
Yeah, where's the
If-
sense in you telling us that the banks will open on
And then if you're
Saturday?
supposed to take the money back, why are you giving
You're
people
still
this?
you're still pumping it
So
into.
when I take it.
So
from
I
the
supported
ATM,
you, but I think you're messing up.
If I
Yeah.
take it from the ATM, it still will lapse anyway with time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's not making plenty sense. I don't know
It's
what
not.
their
It's
idea
not.
is. But anyway, 2022 gave us new notes. Abby?
look what
No,
they-
that we're just looking at stuff that happened
Okay,
in
yeah.
2022.
You know-
Okay, fine.
So-
You know,
Technically,
there's a line from Anolamide Somole Niko Palaro called die here. It's looking like that's what you did, though. You
Translation?
just took you just took the money and Palaro and dyed it, which
Yeah,
means
but
you just changed color
change
of
color.
money.
Anyway, I think another thing that happened,
Release the money.
another thing that that was worthy of note that happened this year was the subsidy was supposed to end this year, but President Muhammad Buhari had shifted it to a month after he leaves office. Shout out to you, sir. Shout out. Anyway, so the PIA was signed this year, but it's not.
What is the PIA?
The Petroleum Industry Act was signed this year. Just a few days ago, the finance bill was signed. There are a lot of bills that were actually signed this year.
Quickly talking about the
Yeah.
petroleum industry reform, what Nigeria has done is that rather than sell its major oil concern, which is the nnpp,
NNPC.
Nigeria has nationalized it, has created a private entity out of it.
Out of it.
And in a few months' time, people like you and me, who might be interested in investing,
But
will get a
shouldn't I
chance.
already have shares in it as a Nigerian? That's the one part that's still
No,
hurting me.
you can't have shares in it as a Nigerian because you have not put your money into it as a Nigerian.
It's not my money, my tax.
It's
money
not
that
your
you
money.
use- that
Do
used
you
to.
even pay taxes? Do you have your tax reform?
I like your flow of thought, but
You
it's
know,
not adding up.
so what it is that they have
Thank you
taken
for the insult.
they have taken it from the angle of a corporation that's owned
It
by
is
government
to a limited liability
to a
company.
limited liability company.
No.
What it means is
Yeah.
that when you finally are ready, you will put your money where your mouth,
Where your mouth is.
It's fashioned after some
No.
other countries and how they've
No.
empowered those companies to run on their own, which means that they are no longer the regulatory body when it comes to the oil industry. They are a major player.
Okay. Another interesting thing that happened this year is the federal government. This one was a proper boxing game. The federal government and ASU. What do you think? It was a show. They gave us a show.
It's unfortunate that the Nigerian students were at the receiving end of
This
show.
show.
We're
Yeah.
always
In quote, it's unfortunate that the Nigerian students were at the receiving end of it, but in reality, it was something that had to happen. I I've said it. I know if there's any ASU person out there, they probably hate me by now, and I really don't care. You have done the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. No, sir. No, sir. Now, everything is by law. They are even on the verge of losing out 8 months of their pension because they didn't work. Apart from the 8 months salary that they are looking forward to, which I think they're not going to get.
No, it looks like they're not getting
the 8 months pension might also be threatened. This will serve as a deterrent. You can't keep going on strike, expecting, to force your way through. The lecturers are important. They are good people. And again, I repeat, they deserve to get an increment in their pay. They deserve to get the funds that they need for research and all of that coming from the government. A government that is so rich that's made some money here and there. But it's not going to happen until it's captured in the budget. And next year's budget has already shown us that there's a large cache of funds heading ASU's way. But I feel that ASU needs to learn a bit of patience and please cut out all these strikes.
Okay.
Where'd that go?
I'm sure there are a lot of other things, but I want to move on to something else completely. Yeah. I'm not sure there was there were really major iconic things that happened with policies. But anyway, I was going to move on to politics. But before I move on to politics, I wanted to move on to sports. Let's do a little bit of sports and a few things that happened this year. This year started with AFCON. We saw AFCON this year, and we saw Senegal give us a show.
AFCON this year was nice. It took place, just across the border in Cameroon. It was good quality football being played. Sadly, Nigeria didn't do very well. Didn't do as well as we wanted them to. And it's becoming a recurring decimal in our lives where we expect so much from the Super Eagles, and they just
never.
They flattered to deceive.
Let's hate it, Shola.
They fail to.
There's a lot
fly.
wrong. There's a lot wrong. Very wrong.
Every time we talk about
house.
the Super Eagles,
there is a lot wrong.
He's always very angry.
Just as the president wakes and does fantastic things all over, I think, Mr. President, sir, we need to knock on the doors of the football house. It's pathetic.
But
it is pathetic.
It is pathetic
I thought
now.
that the government is not supposed to weigh in
pathetic. What
on
is
some
wrong
of
with
these things. Anyway, we saw AFCON. We saw Senegal give us a fantastic show.
Beautiful team.
Also, we saw the under 17. I think the Falconets.
The
Flamingos. We saw the fantastic football that they played as well. Beautiful young girls. We also saw the camaraderie, more like that we saw with what football really does with this girls, not just Nigerians, the World Cup itself. We saw how music and all that, whether we win or lose, we saw how that helped. We saw videos of what really football is really about with this young ones. That was very interesting. Also, there was UEFA Champions League this year. Very, very interesting. One person that we saw emerge, and I would say that was her year this year, is Toby Amushon.
Oh.
We saw the miracle of Toby Amushon this year. It was just fantastic to watch.
I know Tokunboojekunle had something to say.
I had something about her. Yeah, fantastic. She won a world record, 110 hurdles, and she clocked that in 12 point. Oh wow! World record was 12.12 seconds.
12.12.
Sorry, thank you. Then the Commonwealth, the same 110 meters.
12.30.
Yeah, then we saw her join the Was it Commonwealth Games or was Olympics?
She broke the world
World
record.
record.
That was the 12.12.
Yeah,
1-2.
yeah. That we saw them with the
At the Commonwealth,
at the
she retained
she
a
retained
title.
it. Yeah, she retained a title as well.
S.A. Brume also had a
Yeah,
good Commonwealth Games.
beautiful.
Nigeria had one of the best outings
Yes, they did.
this year.
They did.
What
that
are we
she's
going
had.
to do to encourage that and encourage other people?
Yeah, I think that
Nigerians?
Nigerian athletes
Because
they did good this year, especially the women. The women definitely came up this year and they did amazing. Finally, before we leave sports, basically one of the biggest shows that we've ever seen in the World Cup ever was the Qatar 2022. Qatar gave us a World Cup to not to forget. I think it was beautiful. With all the criticism, we saw a lot of drama. That you cannot take away. There was a lot of drama with this particular World Cup. There was a lot of politics that went to it. Should Qatar have gone? Should Qatar have been given? They saw them banning some things, banning alcohol, banning. There was a lot of drama with it. But I think that it was 2022 definitely gave us a beautiful year in sports.
The world must realize that when we talk about the world, we're talking about several cultures, several people, and doing several things in different ways. And that's what Qatar has done. They've shown that, look, we can do it if you give us a chance. But this is our way. They are actually pushing an agenda telling you that there are no talks of violence and so many other negativities that you would probably have heard. Although we really don't hear about them at the other World Cups too, except someone wants to play it up, And after all said and done, I want to focus on the quality of the games that we saw, the quality of the pitches, the stadium. The crowd turnout at some point was disappointing for me for a World Cup. Like, you expect that every game is packed.
It's packed,
but when you understand that it's a country of barely 1 million indigenes and 2.2 million
but less than 3
non-indigenes,
million.
all of them
correct.
in that place, they are less than 3 million.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. They're so small that they had to bring in ships as floating hotels and all of that. People had to stay in camps and stuff. But that doesn't take away the shine from the beauty of their organization. Although a lot of people feel they didn't even deserve to get the nod in the first place, I say move on from that and understand that they organized one of the best World Cups you've ever seen in your lives.
Oh yeah, definitely. And quickly before we go, one very interesting thing that happened in Niger, especially was politics this year. Because leading up to the 2023 general elections, we saw a lot of emergence, we saw a lot of back and forth. And quickly before we go to the presidential and a lot of things that happened in between that, this year gave us a new governor in Ekiti State, gave us a new governor in Osun State as well. There was the elections in Anambra that happened the year before, but gave us a new governor this year in Anambra as well. So those definitely happened this year. But then let's go into the political system that leading up to where we are now, which is less than 2 months into the general elections. We saw how people emerged from parties, from the PDP to the APC to the NNPP to the Labour Party. We saw how there were a lot of people that wanted to be president. And the primaries or the drama that happened before primaries gave us a show. Let's take, for example, the PDP. We saw how there was a lot of back and forth and how the a presidential candidate or presidential aspirant moved from the PDP to the Labour Party a few days before the primaries. We saw how in the APC, how there was emergence of a lot of people a lot of governors, a lot of. In fact, before then, you remember there was the drama of President Buhari literally compelling people to resign. There was the drama of the central bank governor also.
I still feel that was one of the biggest anomalies in the history of Nigeria, where the person who is in charge of Nigeria's economy to a large extent, who is in charge of the monetary policies and all the other policies, would see himself as a partisan person. He's supposed to stay neutral and, stay above board. If you look at it, his first tenure as CBN governor was under the appointment of Goodluck Jonathan of the PDP. And of course, the Buhari government let him run. They could have found a way to kick him out if they wanted to. They let him run, then reappointed him. And if you go and check, when was the last time a CBN governor was reappointed? It's rare.
Yeah.
Then you get this kind of level of trust and everything, and what you want to do is contest for president as a partisan. I don't think it's right. I still feel.
And I remember there was a court case.
Yeah. I still feel he even went to court to try to fight try to force his way in. And I still feel that it should not still be the CBN governor
Anymore, yeah?
It shouldn't.
After all that drama.
Now, I'm not going to take away the Anchor Borrowers Funds and all the things it's done in farming, the rice pyramids and all the other things that he has instigated. But I think you should have stayed focused on those things, because as a professional, stay where they put you, do your job. Which one is the partisan politics that he's getting involved in? I'm still not confident in the fact that man is still there.
I also think, I agree with you, but we don't have enough checks. You know what is, it's coming out to the fore gradually that some areas of our polity really needs to be seriously sanctioned and strengthened. Otherwise, from the blast of the whistle, somebody somewhere, one body somewhere, one institution somewhere would have come up with, Mr. Man, no, you can't do this. You can't do this.
I totally agree with you. So, we saw that happen. Yeah. Then leading up to the APC general elections, we saw how some people had stepped down. We saw how there were premature announcements. There were a lot of speculations.
I love you for that. Premature announcements.
Oh yeah. There were a lot of those.
I thought you were going to say premature.
Excuse me.
What? Premature announcements.
I'm with you.
As we were saying.
I'm with you.
Anyway.
What did I say?
Nothing.
I didn't hear you.
Nothing.
Exactly. Nobody can hear what you said.
Gibbled.
Anyway, we saw all that happen, and then we saw the show. I think the PDP. Then we saw the back and forth with the APC and the PDP, them shifting dates back and forth, shifting dates, and the PDP shifted, and then the APC then finally shifted their date, I think a day before the PDP zone, and looked like PDP could not, they just had to stick with their own dates and all that. And we saw the show that happened where a lot of people came in with somebody's cap, and it was another person's cap they went out with.
No, cap.
We saw how money. Remember, there was a particular picture, a man that had come back from the Congress, and he had shown the kind of money he got as a delegate. I think this year also gave us a lot of clarity onto the Nigerian delegate system. I think this year really he really educated people more on that. Like we said, we saw a show with the PDP rally, and then the Congress, and then we went on to the APC Congress, and you said there was premature announcements and back and forth, and on the ground we saw how people also stepped down.
They did.
And how people lost, how people did not get more than one vote.
Indeed. How
people's presidential candidates emerged, people's parties' presidential candidates emerged. We saw, there was a lot of drama that leading up to where we are now. We saw how LabourParty officially got their candidate as well. We saw the nnpp come also and sweep up a lot of, we saw a lot of back and forth. a lot of people moving here and there. That is still even happening up until now. But I think that it definitely gave us a show from the beginning of the year.
One of the things that's profound is how there are more people involved in Nigerian politics as we speak. More people are getting their PVCs, which will allow them vote.
Oh yeah.
You know, the level of
There was
voter
a lot of drama
apathy,
with that as well.
level of voter apathy that we have experienced in recent times will change. At the next election, there'll be more people voting, not necessarily up to the volume that we would want, but I have a feeling that, you know,
It will get better.
It will get better. There'll be more people voting, and people will get involved. We also saw, you know, the enthusiastic 1 million to 10 million man matches across
Matches
Nigeria.
all over, yeah.
We've seen that happen. We've seen the emergence of several support groups and people trying to create structures for new parties while understudying the structures that the old parties have. We've seen the permutations and speculations of if this person will support that person or if this person will not support this person, which has led to all sorts of lies and stories being peddled. You know, one of the funny things of this campaign is the gaffes. We've seen the gaffes. Bola Tinubu said bala blue blue blue, but you know the funny thing is, he said PD APC. Then the next thing is the Kwankwaso said NNPC.
Yeah, we saw a
You
lot
know,
of that.
we've seen
drama
that video.
too.
We've seen articles say PDP. You know, we've seen Atiku's wife.
Yeah.
You know, say support the APC and all of that. We all know that she actually meant to say PDP.
PDP.
But sadly,
Of course,
she did
we're
say that.
just going to
We've seen
drag that.
Peter Obi's running mate say he commiserates
Hey, commiserates with Peter
with
Obi.
Peter Obi.
Oh God, you know it's
We've
very
seen
interesting.
old videos of Shore Imaj saying that he entered university in 1999 and graduated in 1995. So
it was.
I have
2022
deliberately-
is really a show.
I have deliberately done this, and these are all verifiable facts to show you
It's not that deep.
that we should leave the mundane and look at the realities on ground, the facts on ground. Don't try to force anybody to support your candidate. What you can do is to sell your candidate without forcing it down anybody's throat. We've seen the emergence of aggressive, you know, social media drives, but we've also seen a lot of what they call violence.
Yeah. Quickly before we go, wow, we've actually spent almost 2 hours right now. Yes. Quickly before we're done. One other thing that I want to talk about lastly before we go is the massive infrastructure that we saw from the federal government and even states. There are a few states that there's some things you cannot gloss over. Yeah, starting from one major one that everybody got to, and some people finally got to use this Christmas period was the second Niger bridge. Like I said, I've always heard it all my life that they were going to build second Niger bridge. I've always heard it.
It's a generational thing. Yeah.
But finally, there's actually 2022 gave us the second Niger bridge officially.
Absolutely.
You know, it's always been a talking point for election after election after election after election. Everybody goes and tells you how they're going to build it and they're going to build it. And the strange thing is, you might not like him or you might hate him or you like him so much. One man has taken that discussion off the table. His name is Muhammadu Buhari.
Yeah.
He's taking it off the table.
I
There's no
agree.
discussion anymore
Total.
about the second Niger bridge.
I agree.
I am actually of the opinion, and I still get
Yes.
angry when people play these things up. I feel that the Niger bridge needs about 10 bridges. The Niger River needs about 10 bridges. Do you understand?
Yes.
Well,
Connect
yeah,
within.
you know, let there be several crossings.
Outside too.
You know, you stay in London and you look at the Thames and you see all the bridges crossing it. You know, imagine if they only had two. Imagine if there was only two. You look at Lagos and there's first, second, and third, and I'm like, you need 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, these are the issues, but kudos to the federal government for carrying out that
we
project.
saw a lot of infrastructure
Really good.
coming from the. I know SR has like a list of some of them.
There's a massive list. I don't need to look at anything to say, but for me, I keep saying it. Picture the people who are going to use the Loko Oweto Bridge. These are people who have never had the opportunity to drive. Do you understand? From one end to the other.
Okay.
They've more or less been cut off from the Nigerian mainland.
Yes.
Nigeria has built a bridge connecting Cameroon and Nigeria. That will do a lot for the economy of that area. You understand? Like, when you do that, you are basically creating, commerce. And you're making life easier for people. We are on the verge of, connecting communities that have never been connected before.
Opening them up, yes.
Which is a beautiful thing.
Fantastic.
And some people will tell you, why are you celebrating it? It's their job. Look.
So it was some people's job too, and they did not do it.
It wasn't done.
Let's be honest. We saw Bonny Bodo Bridge.
For me, is the biggest legacy project. Everybody's going on about the second Niger bridge. But Bonny Bodo, a project that connects, you understand? A project that connects 17 bridges, right?
17 bridges.
For a people who have never had the opportunity to drive to the Nigerian mainland.
You don't even have an idea where they belong, really.
They have to go by sea.
Yeah.
It's not right,
They had to build 17
It's not
bridges.
right,
And I was reading, I think that about 11 of those bridges are already built. No, about 15. They're just two.
It's the two biggest bridges that are left.
That are still building. So that you cannot take away from that. Also, basically seeing major work being done on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. It's amazing.
That thing is virtually complete. It's just the connecting part.
Yeah, the connecting parts in Ibadan and
Lagos
State. That is really the main express itself is actually done.
If you drive on that road, and if you have driven on that road in 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, you would understand why some people are happy.
Yeah,
you understand? You see, Nigerians are not asking for too much. They just want the basic bare necessities. They want good roads, they want water, they want light and everything.
Yeah.
And if you're talking infrastructure, I don't know where Toluco is going next, but I would like to commend Governor Nyesom Wike.
Oh yes.
Okay.
He's
I would like to commend
He's
him.
also one governor that has done a lot for Rivers State, from roads to structures. I saw. I watched him commission the law school, the new law school. I think that Nyesom Wike is one governor, hate him or love him, he's definitely done the people of Rivers State. Yes, they've really done them good. Another governor that I feel that also did really good is the Kaduna State governor. Is fantastic when it comes to infrastructure. I was looking at pictures. And we're like, this is Kaduna State. Another state that I saw that who is my governor of the year, any day, anytime, for people that know, Governor Zulum. Is that Borno State has also fantastic in infrastructure. We saw the like.
This is really good for Nigeria.
Yes, I think that it's time that a lot of people really step. Is what we need. We're really backward when it comes to the infrastructure. The Ebonyi State governor, the Lagos State governor. We've seen the first intrastate metro line that is happening. We'll see the Ojota Bridge that has never happened before. We cannot deny these things.
The bridge that I was referring to that connects Nigeria and Cameroon, is the Mfum Ekok Bridge. And what it basically means now is that you can actually, from that part of Nigeria, you can drive to and fro. It's never happened before. They've just never had that connection.
That's
before.
what I feel that some governors actually need.
And before we came on, sorry,
yes,
I was asking you, Shola, about the Alaja Steel Complex.
Yes,
the steel rolling mill. I think from the fourth form or fifth form of my year, in secondary school or something, that was when Alaja Steel came on the map.
Yeah,
and we are now getting to a point where it's
coming
being
back.
Dulupo, it's awesome. For me, it's awesome. We lost so many opportunities by not having a steel manufacturing plant.
I agree
in
with
this
you.
Country. We lost so
I
many.
agree with you. We saw a lot. Quickly before we say, I think it was this year that was the back and forth with not BV and NIN. There was a lot of back and forth that people never thought that I was going to be, before we forget, people never thought it was ever going to close out. We saw how people's phone numbers were actually blocked.
That was when they knew it was a serious game,
yeah,
right?
that's what we knew it was a serious game. Honestly, there's the good, there's the bad, the ugly. But overall, I think that it was a fantastic year. It was very eventful.
I can't wait.
Very eventful.
Next year.
When we talk about 2022, we must talk about how the Ukraine-Russia war has had its bearing on all of us. We must talk about how coming out of COVID-19, we entered a global recession, even if they didn't want to
remember it was
pronounce
2022, it gave us monkeypox.
Same 2022. And, COVID effects has not left us. China is going through it as we speak.
Yeah.
And there's an increasing number of people leaving China that are already spreading COVID again.
See what inflation has done all over the world.
Then we must talk about that inflation. The
inflation and the
became a global thing.
The inflation is killing everybody. Like, talk to people in the US, talk to people in the UK. There were riots. Do you understand? There were riots in France, there were riots in Germany. Brazil is going through it as we speak. And
UK is in recession. There every week you hear one union going on strike, or
the nurses did theirs some weeks ago.
Rail workers,
ambulance drivers.
It's,
and while we're talking about protests and everything, something that you thought was never possible in Iran, with the enforcement of a dress code for women, it led to a breakdown in law and order. One or two people,
and now the girls can't attend schools.
It's still ongoing.
The girls can't attend schools in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
It really is very, very, very. It was really, or it is. We're still in 2022 anyway. It is a very eventful year. But and on that note,
it's a year that queries what United Nations is uniting. It's a year that queries the structure of the United Nations. If the United Nations is still that united in purpose and vision, Ukraine-Russia war should have long ended.
It ended. We definitely will see what goes on in 2023. But on that note, we have officially come to the end of the final boom bar for the year 2022.
Before we do that, with your indulgence, we started the Legend series early on this year.
Oh yeah, how did I miss that?
We were able to invite, and we were honored by,
fantastic, amazing.
Tayo Balogun.
Yeah.
We had Funke Treasure come through. Tinu, I know. Badejo, she was here.
Yeah.
Beautiful Nubia came through. Shei Sholagbade was here. The Secretary General, President General of the Nigerian Football Supporters and other sports club. Rafiu Ladipo was here. Bosse
Queen,
Kafo was here.
was here.
You know, Olympian and all of that. She was here. I am trying to just think of the cover. We had a couple of artists come through. Omar, Emina, you know, Rodney.
Deroju
Adepoju was here.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about Jones Hussein.
Yeah.
You know, they were all here. There were a lot more people that I hope that I have not left out. I really hope I have not. You know, we would like to really, 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 really appreciate these people and thank them for coming through, and that next year we're going to do it bigger and better. And you know, we have partners. We have people who came through, the sports guys, you know, the talk room guys, a couple of other people. There's so many of them. God bless each and every one of them for adding value to us. You know, we have a big family, and you know, the regulars. You know, the Medubi Bukola always there. You know, Ifeanyi from the US. You know, Francis Odum.
Yeah, I've got a lot of
You had a couple of friends come through from Europe too. There's so many of them, too numerous to mention. You know, God bless each and every one of you. Bayo Oluwake, you know, always there. Pastor Ime James, you know, there's just too many. Yomi Opakunle came through. His family is one of us here. You know, he always Dosu Joseph. How can I forget Dosu Joseph?
Wow, yeah.
You know, how can I forget Dosu Joseph? Dosu Joseph came through, you know, and everything just went seamlessly. It was perfect. It was nice. And we were hoping to have a bigger better 2023. So wherever you are, God bless you, God guide you, God keep you.
So on that note, thank you very, very much for being with us in the year 2022. We hope and we promise to come back bigger and better in 2023. That will be, I think, on the 2nd.
Yeah,
that should be on the 2nd of January. But for now, we hope that you have a beautiful, beautiful end of year. We'll see you again in the new year, bigger and better and stronger. So from us to you, it is peace. And have a beautiful, beautiful
Happy New
New
Year.
Year.